Hello. Today for our second day of close reading poetry, before we have a quiz on poetry, we're in the literature text packet. In the first phase, or as we read, we're going to be doing a close read and reading for 3 distinct phases. In the first phase of reading, we'll be reading for what the text says. As we read the poem through the first time, as always, we're going to read to create a summary of what the text is about. So please make sure you're making a proper summary utilizing learning target number 5 to create an objective summary of a text, making sure that you're including moments and details from the beginning, middle, and end. And if the poem happens to have a conflict, make sure you clearly express that conflict. Remember, sometimes poems will be set up in a narrative way with a conflict, and sometimes poems just express strong emotion. So you have to determine that. But do make sure that your summary is objective and that it covers exactly what the entire poem's about. In phase 2 of the reading, we're going to be reading for how the text says it. As we always reread for how the text says it, I want you to reread the poem again for structure. Again, you're going to be asked, what is the impact of the structure of the poem? And to cite text evidence to support your response. With this particular poem, we are looking at a new type of structure. So we're looking at learning target 10 to analyze how a poem's form or structure contributes to its meaning or theme. As we look at this, we're going to look at the free verse structure. A free verse is a poem that doesn't use a specific set structure. It's literally free. Sometimes poets use a free verse structure to emphasize that same theme of freedom. For another type of poem that we're going to look at, which is that it's within the same poems, but the poem utilizes both categories. It's a lyric. A lyric is a poem with a single speaker that expresses their inner thoughts and feelings. So you're going to see in this lyric poem, where we have a single speaker that addresses their inner thoughts and feelings, that it is in fact also set up as a free verse poem with no set rhyme scheme or structure. As you also read through for how the text says it, we are going to cite evidence to support what we find to be the best response for looking at that lyric free verse structure and for how the text says it. Make sure that when you cite that evidence, use quotation marks around it and always follow your evidence with a clear analysis. In phase 3, we are going to look at why the text matters. So as you reread the final time, just like you did on Friday, I want you to look at this specific statement sort of as we look at two distinct, like a TDA response. So we're going to look at two specific skills within this, which is learning target number 6, to analyze how elements in a poem interact or affect each other. Obviously, we are in the informative writing for TDA analytical writing response, but you have the choice at the end of the 9 weeks to publish an informative analysis or a literary. And so as we look at phase 3 for the two different skills within this phase, I want you to break down this prompt in your notebook and then just briefly in a paragraph answer this task. And again, this is not the same as an analysis essay. Although we are looking at two interacting skills, we're only answering it as a type 3 response, not as a TDA analysis essay. But know that if down the road for publication, you want to turn this into a TDA analysis essay, you can do so because I've worded this phase as such. For this question, you're asked, how many people look to nature for a way to escape the burdens and pressures of everyday life? How does the speaker in Sleeping in the Forest connect the elements of nature to her experience in the forest? And use evidence from the task or to the text to support your analysis. Again, this phase is set up as a question, but does have the features of a TDA analysis essay prompt because it's interacting two skills. So if as you're brainstorming in your paragraph for this type 3, you'd like to extend upon it during writing half into a full-fledged TDA essay, it is an option for you that you could think about for publication purposes at the end of the 9 weeks. So go ahead and participate in this close read of the poem Sleeping in the Forest. That's both a lyric poem and a free verse.